So why talk about homes or households in the context of climate disruption? Well, primarily because homes are one of the places where we rely on energy for just about every activity, but also because we all have a stake in the future of our homes. It's a topic that touches everyone's life. As this slide shows, most domestic energy use, 80% of it, is for heating and hot water. Using a standard measure of the energy efficiency of our homes, energy performance certificates from range A to G, less than half of Scottish housing reaches even a band C. That means a lot of energy we use for heating is wasted, and we could stop that with better insulation. In addition, most heating is from gas, but continuing to burn methane gas is incompatible with Scotland's and the UK's targets for zero greenhouse gas emissions from buildings. Initial thinking was we could switch to using electricity for heating, using heat pumps, which are like reverse refrigerators, extracting warmth from the air, ground or water for circulation in very well insulated buildings. But if you look at the pattern of gas use, the green line on this slide, compared with energy for electricity and transport, the daily, the weekly, and in particular the seasonal peaks and troughs in gas use make electrification of heat challenging, potentially high cost, because we'd need a lot of power stations on standby for much of the time in order just to cope with the coldest days of the year. So where have we got to now with the future of heat for buildings? Basically still very little policy or material progress 10 years on from the Climate Change Acts. You can see on the diagram that Scotland and the rest of the UK are lagging behind Europe in developing heat from renewable sources. And as the UK government acknowledged in 2018, change of this scale will require a level of coordination beyond most public policy change programmes, so some big ideas needed and some big answers to contribute to. So moving to the next slide, over the last few years, the UK Committee on Climate Change have focused on what they call low regrets measures for heat, things that can be done now, which mean making sure all new buildings are highly insulated, don't need much energy for heating, hasn't actually been done as yet. Install heat pumps in buildings off the gas grid, we're very slow with that. Improve the insulation of all houses to waste less, and develop district heating networks, mainly in urban areas where demand for heat is highest. Basically, we haven't got very far with those measures still. The next slide shows that in Scotland there is a plan, the Energy Efficient Scotland route map, due to be updated this year. This requires all buildings to be upgraded and retrofitted for low carbon or renewable heat technologies over the next 15 to 20 years. One intention is to ensure that energy efficiency, poor energy efficiency, ceases to be a contributor to fuel poverty, and that work will, as now, be grant funded for low-income households. For homeowners, there are questions about how to combine grants and low or zero interest loans. There are also proposals for local government powers to develop and cost and prioritise whole area heat and energy efficiency strategies. So net zero carbon homes and buildings are now arguably on the to-do list, but to meet our emissions targets and have the kind of resilient housing stock which we need to withstand increasing extremes of weather, we must do 4 things. We need a workable consensus on action and who is responsible for what. We need a really high standards industry, a trustworthy industry, customer protections and enforcement. We need clarity about who pays for what and who gets what share of benefits. And starting points like retrofit, using less energy for heating, being the fastest way to cut emissions and to secure a resilient future. So finally, I'll leave you to look at this infographic from the Committee on Climate Change in their report on UK housing. Lots of practical proposals for actions now, including those by householders. In the forthcoming Assembly sessions, I understand you'll be debating 2 questions. First, how should Scotland retrofit its homes to help tackle the climate emergency in a fair and effective way? And second, how should Scotland ensure that its new buildings are constructed to help tackle the climate emergency in a fair and effective way? Lastly, I'll leave you with our Heat in the City slide. Our website has lots of materials if you're interested in reading more. Thank you very much for listening.